authorship, I was going to that, but I stopped. The authorship basically says this. When you look at it, the author in Chronicles, he calls himself the Chronicler. Some people have the Torah and the Talmud, which are Jewish documents, they refer to the author as Ezra. They say Ezra was the author of 2 Chronicles. And Ezra wrote the book. Why? Because he wanted them to understand if we're coming out of exile and we're getting ready to start this thing over, you need to know what happened. Right. And you need to know how not to go back here. Right. Am I making sense? You need to know what happened, and you need to know. That's why I say it's not that we do our generations a disservice when we do oral traditions. Because your children need to know this is what happened. The reason why we're broke is because of this. And this is how you build wealth back. These are the lessons we learned. This is the mistake we made. This is where we fell out spiritually. And this is the lessons we learned. And this is what the son, daughter, great-granddaughter, great-great-great-great-granddaughter, great-great-great-grandson, listen to me. I don't know your name, but you need to know the God that I serve. Clear enough? And so what's the purpose of the book of 2 Chronicles? Is it just to whoop us? No. It is to tell us that that as the remnant, when y'all are going back, y'all need to know how to be encouraged. Y'all need to know how to be engaged. And so the book is there to say, listen, you're getting ready to rebuild God's kingdom. And you got to know what I know. You got to know how to stay focused, because you're going to have people that are going to tell you why it can't be done. And you need to know how to stay engaged with God, even though the society and the world is pushing against you. Deuteronomy is written to the second generation saying, I'm going to tell you, don't make the mistakes of the first generation and go in. The Bible keeps these cycles of people saying, listen, learn from the past. Learn from the past. Now, why is this important? Because you gotta throw away some of these ideas of, I don't want to know our history. No negativity. No negativity. That's foolishness. Because in our history is also victory. In our history is also success. In our history is also lessons to be learned. So then we have to then say, listen, learn from me. I messed up here. Learn from me. This is where I had great victory. Learn from me. This is how God works with us. Learn from me. This is what it looks like to walk in faith. This is what it looks like to believe God. This is what it looks like am I making sense? This is what it feels like. I had to do this when I had nothing. But I heard the word of God. I had to do this, but I heard the Lord tell me to do this, and I had to stand against it. I had to do this. Because your children's children need to understand this. This book was written because these exiles who are coming out of slavery, coming out of Babylon, they're getting free to go back and rebuild Jerusalem. But they need a framework. And so the book was written saying, listen, rebuilders, you got to know who you are. Listen, rebuilders, I don't care how many generations that we've been in slavery. I don't care how many generations we've been in a bad place. You've got to know where you come from. You come from great people and you serve a great God. So now you got to get back in there and learn how to operate that way. So it says, listen, you've got to be faithful, what? To the Mosaic covenant. You got to understand, though that covenant, those 5 books, they are your life. It is not outdated. The Bible is not, it's timeless. It is not, oh, that's old stuff. That's old stuff. Learning how to be faithful is not old stuff. Learning how to obey is not old stuff. Learning how to walk in covenant is not old stuff. What do you mean? Listen, the reason why we got courts is because people don't know how to walk in covenant. That's all a court is. You had a contract, you said this, you broke it. That's why you're in court. We had laws and rules, you broke them. That's why you're in court. If you learn how to walk in covenant, you wouldn't be in court. You should listen to Moses. Am I making sense? It tells us both hope and warning. Hope, you can do it. Warning, don't do this. And so we go from Solomon's golden age in chapter 1. We look at 997 BC, 997 years before Christ. So this is 1,000 years before Christ. And Solomon reigned for 40 years. So for 40 years, we see David handing the throne to Solomon, Solomon getting the throne, and then for 40 years, man, the kingdom ruled and reigned. And Solomon led it. They built the temple, and they built the greatest nation that the world had ever saw. This, once again, remember, the Queen of Sheba from Africa. The Queen of Sheba from Ethiopia leaves, and she goes, and she says, I heard about Solomon, and I heard about the things that he had done, and I heard about his beliefs. I want to know about his beliefs, and I want to know how he did it. She said, oh my God, when I got there, the half has not been told. And it wasn't just about the fineness of Solomon. So Solomon, we see Solomon ruling and reigning, and so we see the gloriousness of the temple, and we see all of the things that he was so excellent in all of his things. It was how the service operated. It was how the tables were set. So that when we talk about kingdom excellence, we have to really be intentional. Nothing happens by accident. That means we have to say tables are set, tables are moved, chairs are moved. We dress like we do this. That is normal in the kingdom. That is not my pastor being extra. That is not our administration being they tripping. It is called excellence is how we operate. In fact, in Genesis, when God looked at everything that he said, he built, God said, I looked at everything I created, and I stepped back and I said, that's good. Am I making sense? So excellence comes not just with expectation, but with inspection. And so now, and then we see in chapters 10, we see the beginning of through 36, 931 BC, we see the decline. 433 years of them going down. So 4.5 centuries of greatness, 400 years of crash and burn. Why? Because what we thought about was, hey, we're going to relax. We're going to relax. And so Jeremiah prophesied to them. He told them, he said, listen, that's how God is so faithful that he sends a prophet, and the prophet says, if y'all don't act up, I'm going to prophesy to y'all. Y'all are going to be in the exile for 40 years. So the exile should not be a surprise, because the prophet told them, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be 70 years in Babylon. And some of y'all looking like, that don't make no sense. Could you imagine? Can you imagine how God looks at us? He's like, I keep telling you this over and over again. And you look at it and you just fall apart. So Jeremiah predicts 70 years of activity. So now that means Jerusalem fell down or started going down earlier because they were captured politically. And then in 586, the temple was destroyed and they fell down religiously. So they started out being conquered and being under exile or being under their supervision by Nebuchadnezzar in 605 BC. He captured the city, but he said, I'm gonna let y'all still worship. Y'all just keep paying me the money I want, and I'll leave y'all alone. And then after they kept playing, then he decided to destroy the whole temple, burn the whole thing down. And so even levels of captivity don't stop you. So understand your flesh. Your flesh is not satiated even when you say, man, things are getting bad, I think I should change. Your flesh be like, well, it ain't that bad. Second Chronicles, it doesn't just tell us just the history of negativism. It tells us this, that listen, that I'm still going to be true to what I said. I told you that somebody from David's throne is going to be on the kingdom forever. I told you that. So just like I'm prophesying that you're going to go into exile, I also prophesied that somebody from David's lineage is going to be on the throne forever. Even when the throne falls down and crashes, I'm still true to my word. So you're going to see now how God used the Davidic line and protected them through treachery, through murder, through adultery, and how God was like, even in this mess, I am going to hold on to what I say. That lets you know that God is so faithful to his promise that you can't sin enough and you can't mess up enough that God then walks away from his own promise. God can rebuke you and restore you at the same time. And Judah is interesting because the writer says this. When you look at this issue, he talks about Judah so faithfully because Judah wasn't strong enough and big enough to do all these wars and stuff. But so the only reason they were important was because of God's covenant with them. And so even though they were messing up, God was like, I'm going to tell you their story because it's about my covenant. And my covenant is bigger than your mess up. My covenant is bigger than your frailties. It talks about the idea of the temple. So we see David preparing for it in 1 Chronicles 1:11 through 29. David is like, I'm getting ready for this. And we see how extensive his preparation was. David is building resources. He's setting aside monies. He's doing all that he knows to do. So you cannot talk about building something for God without changing your budget. Did y'all hear me? You cannot talk about doing something great for God without changing how David was storing up wood, everything else. Now remember, David said, man, I want to build God's temple. And God said, no, you can't. You got too much blood on your hands. Your life is too messy. So you cannot build my temple. But, now notice this. I want to show you something. So you can be a man after my own heart, but mess up enough that where I can't use you the way you want to be used. I'm not questioning your heart. It's your hands I got a problem with. Am I making sense? But listen, your hands can't be dirty enough for me to throw away your heart. Am I making sense? Making sense. And so David's preparing, and he wants to make sure that this thing is set up right. So he is preparing, and he says in here, he says, I would not give God something that would cost me nothing. God, he says, I cannot build something for God that I don't feel. Am I making sense? And so then we see 2 Chronicles chapters 1 through 9, where now we see Solomon building the temple. So we see it being conceptualized here, and we see the construction here. And Solomon builds it, and you see the elaborate work that it took to build this place for God, because this temple was the house for the presence of God. And there was no amount of money that was too much for the presence of God. There was nothing that they were like, I don't care what it costs. I don't care how long it takes. This is going to be the place where God is going to be showing his presence on the earth. And I want anybody that comes in here to realize there shouldn't be any more splendor. So that means this, saints of God, you cannot be taking months and years to get your house together. And making sure that you got all of your house and your clothing together and your brand together and your cars together. And then God says, now listen, are you going to build a place for me? And you say, yeah, give me 15 minutes. Just like you shop and you pray and you look and the colors and this got to match and you want this kind of that and that kind of this and you want the windows to be, and God says, how dare you do all of that for you? And then when it comes to now for me, I'm doing team too much.